Boom!
And Bordeaux.
This is Rebootable Lyrical Perspective, live talk show on Kingdom Purpose TV and radio streaming live across the internet from the Twin Island Republic of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean West Indies, where we approach biblical literature, usually as well as present modern day challenges via the lens of the ancient Hebrew principle of the scriptures. And we do so step by step, verified by our pragmatic and experimental research carried out under the Zane K. Keturah International Institute of Pneumatology. Before we actually get rolling here today, we would like to give, as per usual, a huge shout out to everyone joining us on Kingdom Purpose Radio on kingdompurposeradio.com. We are simultaneously streaming live on Facebook, on in our Facebook group, as well as on my Facebook profile. That's www.facebook.com/Zane El Fuego. All right, we go with Zane El Fuego on the mic. For those of you who would actually like to get to actually join us and interact with us, you can interact with us on our YouTube channel, on Facebook, as well as in our Facebook group, which is Life Mindset Mentors. Right. Today in particular, we are actually have the privilege of having a conversation with one of the master mentors of the International Institute of Pneumatology, and she is referred to at the International Institute of Pneumatology as the Royal Rulers Master Mentor, as well as she is the founder of the Royal Rulers in Training organization, ministry, where she very uniquely teaches children spiritual identity from the ancient Hebrew principle of the scriptures, or identity through the name of Elohim, in the same way that prophets, priests, Yeshua the Messiah, the apostles all walked. Miss Odelia Jackson is actually giving training to the youth of today and giving them a unique perspective, starting them from young to walk in what she says. She constantly quotes, as I've known her, the length of time I've known her, she holds very strong to the principle that the kingdom of God is not in a set of word, but it is in power. Right? Holy Sister Odelia Jackson, how are you today?
Yeah, I am okay. Yes, I'm blessed to be here.
Yeah, it's actually a great privilege to have you here, and I think this is a unique topic because we have had it within the body of Christ for so long, where there is biblical education given to children, but here it is in particular. You are actually very uniquely not giving them biblical education, but giving them Elohim identity training to learn how to function as Elohim.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely.
So today, go ahead.
I was just going to say, not just giving them word, but how to. The mechanics.
Exactly.
Of how it works.
Exactly. So you're moving to today's youth from just knowledge and philosophy to mechanics and function.
Yes. Yeah? Yes. That's perfect.
What has been your heart in this entire mission? What has been your heart and your objective for the youth of today?
Well, my heart has been that our youth are so turned off from the religious of thinking, the westernized thinking mentality, that they don't see anything happening of what is being read in the Bible.
Right.
And so and my heart is when they learn who they are as Elohim, Yahweh, that they would, and then the mechanics of it, and start practicing who the function rather of who they really are, and start seeing not just what the First Corinthians 4:20 says, the kingdom is not about a whole bunch of talking, but it demonstrates the kingdom.
Right, right,
And so I
exactly.
think that's why a lot of them say they bored or they ready to go to sleep, because they don't see the demonstration.
Exactly. I fully agree with you. I fully agree with you. And I've actually just introduced Holy Sister Odelia Jackson to the show, and I haven't introduced my lovely co-host, Lady Katura.
Lady Couture is in the house.
All right.
As always, it's a pleasure to be here. And, this topic in particular is one that, as we're talking about children, I think is one of the, for the, not just for parents, I think it's a topic that affects each and every one of us listening, because we
Right.
are in a society where we interact with children on a daily basis. And these
Yes.
things that you're actually passing on to the kids that you'll actually talk about in a bit are things that your children are not born with because they've been influenced. They have been, so people, as they tend to take the approach with um values and principles and all of these things through the dust lens. And for
Yes.
those who have been following our podcast by now, would be quite familiar with what I'm referring to. Whereas what we are actually introducing the kids to, and what you in particular are passing on to them, is teaching them how to engage with society
Mm.
and with everyone, even themselves, from the breath realm,
Yes.
which once they come into a better understanding of who and what they are now like little Moses and Elijah
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
walking the face of the earth.
Yes.
Yeah. So the topic that we actually want to speak about a little more on today is what is the objective, and to be more specific, what is the spiritual objective of parenting? Because one of the things in particular that we are very much accustomed to in our modern day society today is technically the thou shalt not parenting. Right? That's
Mm.
actually how we refer to it at the institute. We call it the thou shalt not parenting.
Mhm.
And the thou shalt not parenting style is where we have children, we are growing our children, and we teach them how to live by telling them what not to do. We have a long list of sometimes things that we have communicated to them that they should not do. And a lot of times, for most parents, they actually have not communicated what they're not supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
So they have
because,
the whole don't steal, don't do this, don't lie.
right, yeah, and so there's an unspoken expectation, and the unspoken expectation is that they should grow up like God, but without actually formally educating them on what it means to be like God. And
Mm-hmm.
what and in our Western, in our modern day Christian culture, I think it's a very strange idea on what the Bible actually speaks about concerning bringing up a child. What is unknown in particular, and Holy Sister Delia here in particular will be very familiar with this because this is actually what her school stands upon, is that the scriptures is very specific on growing your child in the Lord, which means you grow your child in the Lord means in Yahweh, which means you grow your child to be self-existent. Right? We actually come up in a society where it's become a norm for children to become codependent. Whether they're codependent on the television, they're codependent on the devices, they're codependent on the parent, they're codependent on their peers at
Peers.
school,
Yeah.
they're codependent in many different areas. And that codependency translates into not exactly being the respectful citizen of the country that you want them to grow up in, because they have to grow up and interface with citizens. And not many persons in particular have actually seen in Proverbs how King Solomon says to discipline your child. And what they have not been taught is that King Solomon's wisdom is an expression of the principle of the self existent, and therefore you are disciplining your child the spiritual objective of parenting is to grow self-existent sons and daughters, which is actually how they begin to function through the logic of Elohim himself.
So when you say self-existent, to grow self-existent children, can you share with our listeners a bit as to what that looks like as an example?
So what that simply means, and we're going to tag in Holy Sister Odelia here to actually add to it just now. But what that simply means is that the child in particular is supposed to be trained to function through the logic of God, through a logic which is actually referred to as the self-existent logic, where the child is actually trained to function on his or her own, instead of actually being codependent on the myriads of things that they're actually codependent on. And what that simply looks like is that the child is supposed to be disciplined and trained to walk by the principle or the character of God as his or her logic. And what we're speaking about here in particular is to walk in the integrity of what has been breathed into them, and to treat all of creation with equity.
So that entails like responsibilities. But when you're talking about self-existence, are you referring to the child being able to take on responsibility for themselves in their engagement with their peers at school, for example? Is that the logic that they need, where they understand how to deal with real life issues, peer pressure, their little trials,
Exactly.
take instructions?
So character or logic is usually built where there is a priority that is established, and the child actually learns discipline or learns character by holding themselves responsible to the priority. And if the priority here is integrity to what has been breathed into you and equity, then you can actually turn your back and go anywhere and know that your child will always walk in the integrity of what has been breathed into them, and treat creation and treat everyone around them in equity. In addition to that, by walking in the integrity of what has been breathed into them, what the child is actually learning to do is to actually hold himself responsible to his God nature. That means that not only are they going to be equitable citizens, but you're going to have Jesus and prophets and priests walking in power from a young age. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It really does.
Yes, it do.
Yeah. So Holy Sister Odelia, what would you say in particular, in the context of the function of Royal Rulers so far? What do you think in particular would you see is like the main area that you see in a child's life that needs to be educated in this area? Like, what is it? One of the main areas for them that stands out to you?
First, what stands out is first knowing who they are in Christ,
Right.
as Elohim and the priest and all the things that we've been learning ourselves. Knowing who they are, and then the other part would be the self-existent, the mechanics of how it worked.
Right.
You know, and that they would even practice, you know, because you never know unless you're on the job training, right? If you've never done the job before,
Right.
you need that training. So that's why I call it the royal rulers in training, because they're royal and they're rulers, and they need to be trained and how they supposed to function in the earth.
I totally agree with what you're saying there, because that actually brings to light something in our society that is not very much given attention, in that I think we have come up in a society that has actually taught us to compare ourselves to others instead of finding a definition for identity. Like, how do we define ourselves?
Right.
And without definition, then you cannot understand how to function. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
And
So
go ahead.
I was going to say they function according to who they think they are.
Indeed. And
And if
one,
you have the wrong identity, you're not functioning properly. You're malfunctioning.
you're mal you're malfunctioning indeed. And most of us in particular have actually grown up in society where we were left to actually compare ourselves to others to try to
Yes.
understand how to function.
Yes. And that
And uh-huh.
I was going to say about that codependent, and that's part of the codependence and that double-mindedness.
Hmm. Yeah,
You know,
it's double mindedness indeed.
living from the dust.
Right, right.
We're living
Always
from. We need to
yep,
be living from the self-existence.
right. So for a lot of people, a lot of parents listening now, they have actually been accustomed to allowing the children to, well, first of all, many parents and might be hearing this for the first time. Might be hearing that for the first time that a child is supposed to be functioning according to what God has breathed into them.
Yes.
Which is why we use the Bible at the Institute, because the Bible, according to James, is the mirror
Hmm.
of what their breath contains.
Wow.
And instead of actually functioning from there, what the child is actually left to do is to compare him or herself to cartoons.
Right.
Yeah, compare him or herself to their peers. And sometimes the characters that they compare themselves to might be dysfunctional characters.
Yes. They
Yeah.
are.
Characters um, that may be struggling with identity themselves.
Yes.
You know, we see this with especially with what they watch on the TV, the movies. Because I sit and watch a lot of movies with my kids. Well, I have done over the years. And one of the things I've noticed is that some of the programming teaches the children in a very subtle manner, some more passive and some more aggressive, to be entitled, which
Mm.
is where the children are demanding. And when I say demanding, I mean they have the expectation. So they're
Yes.
comparing themselves to what they see on the TV, and they see a child behave in a particular way, and they are now using that as their image, the mirror that they're
Yeah.
going to consciously or subconsciously pursue. And then they approach their parents with demands that may seem unreasonable, make the parent feel like their parenting is not enough because they're not getting what this other child is getting. May try
Mm.
to hold the parent accountable by saying things like, you don't love me, or, my friend, or I saw this is what parents do for love. And so they're mirroring these cartoon characters, and they have expectations because of that. And that's because many kids are not taught what is breathed into them and how to live from that disciplined.
Right, right,
and
right.
that, and then when they're dealing with situations at home, they are living in the expectation of being given. And we see this in so many
Mm.
different ways, where they don't want to do chores
Right.
because they've seen it on TV and that's too much work. And then they say, no, that's child labor and you don't care. And then they want, dinner in their bedroom because they think that they're entitled to that because they probably saw that on TV or their friends.
Right.
And then they see other behavior where they think it's okay to shout at the parents or to assert themselves and say, I hate you. Or, all of these are just calling some of the examples of where we see the indiscipline or the dust living. Some
Right,
of
Yes.
us
right.
maybe interact with it on a daily basis and probably got used to it because it's like a norm in society now, and think, well, this is how kids are this generation. But I beg to differ. That's
Yes.
not. It's simply they just need to be reorientated their mindset, brought into
Yes.
discipline, which is pretty much bringing them into the understanding of the breath. They don't have to go to martial arts school to get that. This is something that once they understand the basic principles, as saying you were sharing a while ago, they can be brought into self-existent function, which means that once it be such a wonderful experience as parents, where you get up
Yes.
and the kids are actually doing their chores on their own without
Mm-hmm.
you having to holler over them.
Yes. Yes, it
and,
will.
and they get ready for school and they take out the trash and do what they're supposed to do, contribute to the household.
But
in an
all of,
equitable manner.
but all of that actually comes, as Holy Sister Delia says, by first they have to their identity has to be defined for them.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
and
And then
even
you,
mhm.
okay, I'm sorry. I
And
was just
even
gonna say
when
about the
sorry,
parents. The parents have their part too,
Hmm.
because you have to discipline them. And a
Yeah.
lot of parents don't want to do that. And
no,
so if you don't do that, then they're not gonna do it. And,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
And if you see it around us, like even when you go to the supermarket, from a young age, once they are taught what we are actually talking about here, you could go to the supermarket and the child asks, "Can I have this?" And the parent says, "No, I don't think that's a good idea." Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing for the child not to throw a tantrum
oh, that would be
and
beautiful.
not throw themselves on the floor and scream and holler, even with their peers in school? Wouldn't it be a good thing if kids are taught what is to live from their breath? It means they're taught equity, which means there won't be stuff like bullying.
Right.
They'll all treat each other with respect and regard. And your child will be the child that now looks out for the one who is oppressed. In biblical terms, I'm saying oppressed, or the ones who's being bullied, and looks now to make sure that they execute righteousness and justice. Biblical terms here, in other words, execute what is right and fair for
Right.
all.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And so, with regards to definition of identity, I think one of the things that we want to actually be very clear on is that when Holy Sister Odelia, as well as all of us, actually say that we need to discipline the children, the first thing that people tend to think when they hear discipline is flogging.
Yeah,
You know?
or in other words, giving them licks like spanking. I think the American terminology would be spanking.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, we use the term flogging here in the Caribbean. That's like a little post-colonial term, right?
Okay. Good to know that. Now I know what that means.
And one of the things in particular that has been misunderstood is that flogging in particular or spanking is not discipline. Like in the scriptures, discipline is actually holding your child responsible to a structure that trains them to walk out their definition of their identity.
Right.
Yeah, right? And once you can actually put a structure in place, what you're actually doing is training the child on a daily basis to work out the definition of who they are and what they are. And this not only applies to character, but in the context of even Holy Sister Odelia's operation, it also is also a manner. The same approach is used to teach them how to walk out the power of God.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
as Holy Sister Odelia actually put it, she said they have actually, the youth today have found themselves in a position where they border Christianity, and all they hear is about our God, our God, our God, our God. And because the culture today, the generation today, is they have very easy access to knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to Google and find something that contradicts
Yes.
what they're being told, instead of actually having practical experience to know that this is true.
Yes. It's nothing
Yeah.
like that. There's nothing like that.
There's nothing like that at all.
Right.
So Holy Sister Odelia, when it comes to like what actually goes on in Royal Rulers, what do you focus on? Like, what is the direction of the training, and what has been, number one, what's the direction of the education there, and number two, what has been some of the results of what we've been doing so far?
Well, we started out with learning about the kingdom, that they're a royal people and who
Right.
they are in Christ. And now we've been doing it for over a year now about the self-existence.
Right.
And then we incorporated not only the the kingdom isn't about a lot of talking, but living by the power of God. And so we've been setting up sessions where they can practice the function that they're supposed to be doing as sons of God. And so they, and that's what we're going to do, be a lot more this year. So we've been doing, sharing, teaching them about, how to prophesy, how to heal, and stuff like that. And
Nice.
they are very interested in that. And that I never before, when we was in the religious system, I always had to say, stop that, don't do that, stop that. And then when we start learning about that we are a royal people, and I could hear a pin drop. They want to know that. That's what they, and it's like they really know that, but it's like it's something that rings in their resonates in their heart when they hear that. And so that is what they're interested in. But we have a lot of talking that we lose them.
Right, exactly. Because I mean, if you actually look at this from a very practical standpoint, whilst we in our Christian culture spend time talking, they could just put in a movie and watch Harry Potter, right?
Mm-hmm.
And see Harry Potter doing all kind of different things. And if you actually now compare Harry Potter and seeing all of the manifestations that they're seen in the movie, and they just hear about this God that they're not even seeing any movie on, they're just hearing about God is good, trust God, which seems more appealing to you as a child?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Exactly.
It's more exciting, right?
Right.
You hear about prophets in the scriptures, but you never see a prophet prophesy. And more so, nobody has actually ever taught them. I don't think there's anyone around us in most of mainstream Christianity that is doing what you're doing, where you're actually telling them you can prophesy and you're showing them how to.
Yes.
You can heal and you can show them how to.
Yes.
Yeah, you can actually have dominion over creation, and you're actually taking a process, a step-by-step process, and educating them on how to do that, and actually having them walk that out.
Yes. Yeah, we even had someone come on. I don't know if Tanya. She would come on and teach them how to hear the voice of God.
Right.
And so that's another thing, because they hear a lot of stuff, but they need to know who voice they listening to.
Yeah, because a lot of people actually talk about it, but as is the norm, nobody actually points out how does that work.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, and the good thing about the school that you host in particular is that is what you are focused on. That's all. That is what you narrow into.
Yes.
You're narrowing into where you begin to identify. One of the things that I love about Royal Rulers is that you take it from a very practical approach, and the whole objective is to actually educate them on not only define their identity, define the breath that they breathe in as the Elohim spirit, the Elohim breath.
Yes.
But you are focused around and centered around how do these children actually take that and walk it out.
Yes.
Like what steps do they take? And you put it in steps, in a step form that actually helps them to know, okay, so to hear the voice of God, I need to do this, this, and that. They apply it and they function.
Yes.
Now, that to me in particular is very instrumental because, I mean, the Institute in particular, the whole International Institute of Pneumatology was born out of a methodical and experimental process of deduction and verification. But that actually happened when pretty much I'm in my 30s. In my late 30s, I'm in my late 30s now. And what if I had this kind of knowledge when I was 10?
been awesome.
You understand? You grew up knowing the truth as your truth,
Mm-hmm.
and you walking that out.
Yes.
Think about a generation of youths that actually understand how their energy works, how their spirit works,
Whew. That is so powerful.
and functioning where it's a norm. Health is a norm. Understanding
Yes.
what to do and what not to do is a norm.
Yes. That's so powerful. That's what I see. That's exactly what I see. I remember I used an example with the kids because I know they like to play the games, right? And we were talking about one session. We were talking about the rules of engagement, and when they play those games, I said, "Well, how do you get to the next level?"
Hmm.
And so you have to know the rules of engagement to get to the next level. And it's the same thing when we are learning the mechanics of how the Word of God works.
Exactly. I mean, it's about time that we move from reading stories.
Yes.
You know, one of the things that I used recently, particularly, I think I wrote a brief article on it, is how we have ended up taking, a book that was meant to express how your spiritual energy works, and we made it a book of validation, a moral compass. And I said, what we have done is like you take the manual for a washing machine that teaches you how to function, how to start the washing machine, how to take off the washing machine, how to get the hot water, the warm water, how to operate the dial. And instead of actually understanding the manual to operate the washing machine, we never turn on the washing machine, and we start to use all of the warnings in the manual as a moral compass. And so you're using it for this is right and this is wrong. And all through the manual you're talking about this is right and this is wrong, and this is right and this is wrong. But you never turn on the blame machine.
Wow.
So you have a washing machine, and the washing machine is now rusting because parts not moving. Everything just standing there because you're looking at the manual for right and wrong instead of looking at the manual to find out how to function. Right? As Vince Allen, he's actually another master mentor at the Institute, says, we just say how good the washer is while we're using a washboard.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
And that's exactly what we end up. This is exactly what we have done with scripture, right?
Right.
We're not looking at it for function. We're looking at it to say this is good and this is bad. And whilst you're doing that, you are actually sick and dying because you don't know what to do to function. Right? And so now that we actually have a school, the Royal Rulers in Training, which is also an online school that anybody can access. What Holy Sister Delia, what can they expect when they come to the school?
We start in we usually start the end of September, but we're gonna start in October this time.
Okay.
And from October to May, Wednesdays and Thursday nights, we start at 8:00 this time for an hour.
Right.
And
They
I
come
think
to
that's the time. I said 7 to 8.
right.
Yeah, 7 to 8. That was the conference. Yes. So every Wednesday and Thursday night, 7 to 8, they would come. They would. I would have put up a Zoom. A link to get onto the Zoom those nights. It would be on Facebook Live. On Facebook, on my Facebook page called the Royal Rulers and Training Online Service.
Right.
And
Okay,
you would look on that. Huh?
So when they come to the school, what was the first thing that they learn?
Oh, what did they learn? Oh, they be first thing they will learn is who they are,
Right,
who
right.
their true identity. Because if you don't know your true identity, you can't go too far.
Hmm.
If you don't know your true identity, who are you?
Right.
You know, and then as you learn who you are, you learn about the purpose and all the other things that go with that.
So
And
once
it,
you, so
go
once you
ahead.
learn the who are you, then the what are you and the why are you falls into place.
Yes, all that falls into place. Yes,
Right, right,
because
right.
it's all together. And so I did a lot of us, including adults, we don't know who we are, and we don't know that that you are Christ.
Hmm.
You know, Christ is in you. The scriptures even telling us that, but we won't receive. But a lot of people won't receive it, and so that was to be the first things of teaching them that you are Christ.
Right,
And
right, right.
we would use the Galatians 2:20 to point that out in First John 4:17 when he tells them that just as Christ is in the world, so are you. So
Hmm.
the word is actually telling you who you are,
Right, right.
and these people just have to start, and the children they easily receive that you I am Christ. You should have seen them when they start learning that they are kings, they are rulers, okay?
Hmm.
Because they're not told that. They told something else.
Yeah, yeah.
They're not taught that neither, and they don't see it in God's word. So when the children see stuff like healing, and they in the Bible, and then they will, I never saw that. It's in the Bible, but they never saw it. So that's what when they start seeing that, it's like it just resonates in them when they see what the word says and they see it actually is reality. That's their
Right.
reality.
Yeah. I think I remember the last time that I was at the school, we actually did a session where they were able to begin to exercise their spiritual authority, and actually saw how that works and how to step by step apply it. And
Yes.
you actually have a conference coming up for
Yes.
in September. You wanna let us know
Yeah.
what that conference is about?
Well, I got two of them coming, but and both of them is in September.
Okay.
Um, there's another one coming up about raising children.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
it's a God's blueprint of raising children.
Ah.
And
Okay.
if you don't mind, if I read what the workshop is about, it's a workshop.
Definitely good.
God's blueprint for raising world changers is a parent workshop based on a revelation of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. When we teach our children right and wrong as a method of parenting, we are feeding them the poison fruit of the tree of death.
Hmm.
And in this workshop, you will learn to parent from the tree of life. When we switch to life giving parenting practices, we find out that God has so rigged it so much in our favor that parenting becomes a piece of cake. No more worrying about whether or not your children will follow the Lord as adults. You will learn to literally pen the script of your child's life as his parent. When with Kingdom Keys, it is possible to create an instant and permanent obedience shape your child's character effortlessly. Connect with his heart where you gain influence in his life. And this is by Amy Hayes. And
Okay.
this is by Amy Hayes. It says, once you learn how to parent your child from the tree of life, leading him or her into his kingdom destiny is simple and easy, which is the goal of parenting. And that's
Okay.
going to be September the 5th. And it's only on Sunday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. Central on Sunday nights for an hour. And then we have question and answering questions afterward.
Okay.
and
Okay.
and that would be for 5 weeks. So it's September the 5th to October the 10th, only on Sunday nights.
Okay.
Now the conference for that we have coming up, the Supernatural. I forgot the name of it. Let me go to my page. The Supernatural Teachers Conference, I believe.
Right.
I had it all up here. Hold on 1 minute. And that's going to be September the 15th, 16th. Those are Wednesday and Thursday nights too. That'll be at 8 o'clock. Then it would be the 22nd, 23rd, the next week on Wednesday and Thursday, 8 o'clock. And then it would be 29th and the 30th of September, Wednesday and Thursday night. And Zane Pierre, am I saying right?
Yep.
And Paul Brown will be facilitating these meetings. And on the last night, the last week, 29th and 30th, there'll be question and answering, or any questions people have to ask for that night too. All right. And the name of that conference, I'm on the spot here. Okay. On the spot here is the name of this. I know I got it on my page. It's called Teachers Supernatural Activating Conference.
Right.
And I gave out the date and time already.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. In this conference in particular, Paul Brown is a very good friend of mine and brother. Yeah, brother from my different mother. He and I actually would be at this convention, at this online convention, where we're actually going to be breaking down like very practical steps.
Yes.
For teaching children how to walk from what has been breathed into them, right? Especially with regards with regards to administering things like healing and also prophecy, how that works, so that we can actually have them begin from now on how we apply that, how we work that out, so that they can start. And this is actually open to everyone, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is an invitation to one and all, to come, because even if you're just a parent and you want to actually learn how to apply that,
yes,
or you're actually somebody who teaches a school with children where you're training them to actually have values and character, this is actually useful information for that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're actually doing a Sunday school also,
yes,
and you want to actually take this Sunday school to the next level, this is exactly where we would be pouring out, understanding how your spiritual energy works,
yes,
in Christ, and how you actually materialize that, how you bring that into realization, and not just talk about God and faith, but what does it look like for not only the parent, the Sunday school teacher, the person that is training children to have character and values, but also for the parents that actually want to see their child fulfill their potential, how that actually applies in a practical way of teaching and a practical structure that you can give children.
Yes.
Yeah, does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yes. Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Yes.
So what are the dates looking at for the convention, Holy Sister?
It'll be September the 15th and 16th that you will be doing that first one.
Right.
And then Paul Brown will be doing the 22nd and the 23rd of September. And they all at 8 o'clock. And then the 29th and the 30th, Paul and Zane will together be doing that question answering, or in I guess as the Spirit leads.
Right.
Would these conferences be free for those who are wondering?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes, they are free. All the conferences that I'm giving is free.
Free.
It's free because we want you to know. We want you to know how. And that's why the conferences are so for teachers who don't know how to do that. This is, please come with pen, paper, and take notes, and be ready to participate. because you got to practice what we're going to be showing the children.
Right. Yeah, actually put that into practical application.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and where can they go to register?
Oh, I didn't even do a registration. I was just putting a flyer up. I never did the registration. I guess because I don't know how anyway. But anyway, that's why I've been advertising it for weeks, so that
Okay.
people would know about it. And I guess somebody had to show me how to do the registration thing.
All right. So, what was the link to your Facebook group then? The name of your Facebook group?
The name of my Facebook,
Yeah, the
Royal
Facebook.
Rulers, the Royal Rulers in Training online service.
All right. So, to actually reach out to Holy Sister Delia and to get involved in this conference, it's a free conference, and so there is no, as Holy Sister Delia actually pointed out here, there is no really any official registration. Just come to Royal Rulers in Training online services. Search for that Facebook group right now in your Facebook group, in your Facebook search bar, and just join the group. Right?
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I just had an idea about doing it on the event. Do an event of it. And this way people can go to the event and then
just
say if
register
they're
there.
coming or not.
All right. So the event will be posted in the Facebook group, yeah?
Yes.
Nice. So make your way across to the Facebook group. We are actually interviewing Holy Sister Odelia here today, Miss Odelia Jackson, who is the founder of Royal Rulers in Training, online services, where she actually carries on all of these training sessions free of charge. The conference is coming up in September. You have the conference, the 5-week conference on the Sunday, as well as the 3-week conference.
Yes.
From the 15th, that's on the 15th, the 16th, the 22nd, and 23rd, and on the 29th and 30th, both Paulie B and myself, Paul Brown and myself, we would be there to take any questions parents have, any questions teachers of youths have, on how they can actually take these practical steps, the practicality of what we will be doing, what we'll be unpacking in these sessions, and how to incorporate it in the unique family environment, or what you want to accomplish with your children, and how you can do that. Because we have, as I said when we began, we have a modern day parental style that actually trains. I call it the "thou shalt not" parenting style. We train without training, and the
Yes.
lack of training is training. So we don't really formally communicate what is the expectation of the child.
Right.
One of the things in particular at the Institute we talk about also is when we have children, how we should actually, I actually put into phases what a parent should do in an attempt to actually accomplish bringing a child into self-existent function.
Awesome.
And one of the things, there are 3 things in particular that I actually recommend, and this is actually just a hint of what we could be on, or what parents can do, and why you should come to this convention. Because one of the 3 things in particular I encourage parents to do is: number 1, establish a house policy. And that house policy should actually cover what is the highest virtue or the highest character that that everybody in the house attains to and holds themselves responsible to. And for us, that's the self-existent character, right?
Yeah.
Integrity and equity. And that policy should also outline for your family how the child is supposed to, what is the expectation of the child interfacing with the parents? What is the expectation of the child interfacing with other siblings? What is the expectation of the child interfacing with the environment at home? And also, what is the expectation of the child interfacing with society? What does integrity and equity look like in these 4 categories?
Right.
Right? And that's just to start. And then the second thing is that you create a structure, a daily structure that actually expresses this policy, so that it becomes a lifestyle.
Yes.
right? To know step number 3, come to the convention.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Right? Look for
Yes.
Royal Rulers in Training online, Royal Rulers online training services, and look for the event, register, and we will see you all on the 15th, 16th, 22nd, 23rd, 29th, 30th. And Wednesday, Sunday, the 5-week Sunday seminar run on this, sister?
September the 5th to October the 10th on Sundays only.
All right, September the 5th to October the 10th. Right, so get across there, register. It'll definitely change your experience with your children as well as your parenting experience.
Right.
Okay, so that pretty much brings us to the end of today's episode as we are out of time.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for having me here.
So we want to actually thank you, Holy Sister, for actually coming in and talking about what you're doing, because what you're doing is actually life changing. And just hold on one moment. We're actually going to have to bring the radio segment to an end, and we will then ask questions for those on Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So for everyone joining us on Kingdom Purpose TV and radio, thank you for tuning in. We are humbled to actually have your ear. Please reach out to us on Facebook at Life Mindset Mentors or ZKI International Institute of Rheumatology on YouTube, or visit our website at www.internationalinstituteofrheumatology.com. This is Daniel Fuego and
Lady Katsura.
in the house. Reboot your biblical perspective. Boom. All right, so this is actually now to our Facebook audience. So for those of you actually joining us on Facebook, do you have any questions? Is there any questions that you have based on the content that you heard here today? We would love to hear what your questions are. We just give the next 5 to 10 minutes to ask any questions. All right, what are your parental challenges? We have Miss Odelia Jackson here, the founder of Royal Rulers in Training. What are your parental questions? What are your parental challenges, your experiences? And we can actually take the principle of the scriptures, the name of Elohim, and apply it to a situation to give you an idea as to what it would mean to actually apply the Elohim method and the self-existent method of living to children and to your parenting style. Right? For those of you who will be listening to this in the post-recording, the post-live, or just you're listening to the recording, feel free to actually leave your questions and we will happily address those questions. And in the meantime, Holy Sister Odelia, is there anything in particular that you would like to tell parents in particular? Anything that you would like to tell parents concerning their children? What is the 1 or 2 things that you would really like them to know?
That the only way they will know it is we train them and teach it to them. And I was just thinking about Deuteronomy, when the Lord was talking to the people. He says, after he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind, he said, and teach these to your children.
Wow.
And so that's the assignment that I see, that we have to teach this generation, even if they are entitled or those
Right.
other things, we got to show them God's way.
Teach them how to live. Yeah.
Yes.
Teach them how to live.
How to live and see the powerful effects of it.
Right. And not only how to live, but also to actually become experienced.
Yes.
With what, with the power of the Spirit in them,
Yes.
and not just read it like an English textbook.
Exactly. You put it right, just like I would like to say it.
Right. No, it's awesome. It's awesome that you're actually taking that approach. And we would like to encourage all parents that are listening to this now, as well as those who will be listening to this, to consider joining the Royal Rulers in training online services. Enroll your children. For now, these sessions have actually been free, and they've been done in a very it's a very professional manner, where you can actually come and have your children educated in their identity. Miss Odila Jackson actually defines that for them and shows them how to actually walk that out, how to think. There's something that we don't teach our youth of today.
Yes.
We don't teach them how to think equitably, how to
Yes.
approach situations. We just tell them, don't do that. Don't sit there.
That's so true. And that's another big thing right there. Teaching them how to think according to Elohim.
Hmm.
You know, after we learned what we learned last night about calling to the mind and then act.
Right.
You know. So
Yeah. So
that's
it's- go ahead.
I was just going to say that was so powerful of what we call into our mind and acting on to, because a lot of things come to the mind.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you're actually not taking an active role in applying what we need to apply for results, they will have a lot of things feeding their mind that they will constantly call to mind.
Yes. And that's the hard thing. The one more thing I would like to say to
Mhm.
those who are, if you're not parents or you train guardians or whatever, that when you training children, it's not gonna always be easy, because it's something they got to learn first.
Right.
It's not gonna always be easy.
Hmm.
But are we as people of God, are we willing to, I like to just say tough it out.
Right.
Just tough it out until you see the actual work. Because I remember with my own children, I went through that. I didn't know about this here then, but I was determined that we had a certain way the house was established, and everybody had things they had to do, and I didn't think they were getting it. But as they got older, when they got older, you could see it. Somebody asked me, what one of my sons, was he raised in the army? The way he make the bed, the way they keep everything perfectly clear and clean.
Right.
But if you keep at it, God rewards us for being steadfast and training them the way they're supposed to be trained.
Yeah. So true. So all in all, you're saying they cannot know what they are not taught.
Yes. How will they know unless we teach them?
As we teach them. Keturah, you want to actually add anything to that before you wrap up?
I just love the whole idea of training the children in particular, simply because we're in a society where they're taught to memorize information in schools.
Mhm.
And with that act of memorization, we have a lot of children who cannot think independently. And so they're unfortunately misled, follow the wrong crowds, find themselves in compromising situations.
Yes.
And so I think one of the best gifts that you can give a child is the gift of reasoning. It's not tangible gifts. Buy them a little toy car. It's not, throwing them a big birthday party and giving them things that have no real value in their lives. It's actually teaching them so that they can deal with challenging situations, because they are going to face challenging situations at
Yes.
some point in time. And as a parent, you want to be comfortable knowing that your child will make the most functional choice and the outcome will be life and not death. So this is something that I also share the sentiments of excitement and joy and looking forward to it, because it's really important what we put in our kids.
Yes.
And they determine what we put in now determines the type of life that they're going to have in the future, type of friends that they're going to bring in your house, type of
Yes.
spouses that they're going to
Come on.
look towards, even the type of job that they will
Yes.
pursue or career. And it starts from now, and it's not too late. It's never too late. It'll be
Never.
a lot easier if you can do it when they're younger.
Mhm.
If you don't have it when they're younger, even if you have teens, it's still not too late because they still have at that age can we can teach them how to start reasoning and how to start understanding their identity, which is a good place, for them to be.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think I think if I'm to add to that in particular is we have actually grown up where rule keeping has become the way of life.
Yeah.
And like I just recently, Katrina and I went, both Katrina and I were having a conversation, and the simple example I use is you can tell a child don't touch that door, or um yeah, don't touch that door, and then tomorrow situation changes by, God forbid, there's a fire in the house, and you taught that child the rule of not touching that door. You know what you've done there is actually taught the child to actually live by that rule. And that means people can die because the child learns to live by a rule instead of teaching the child what is the priority in life. Instead of educating the child on priority. Now, once we educate on priority, then everything can be compared to that priority, and hence a process of reasoning is developed.
Yeah. And
Does
so
that make
you know
sense?
that, yeah, I find that makes a lot of sense because now you know that when, God forbid, there's an emergency, that child now can, even if they're young, once you teach them the priority, reason the situation, and save lives. Situations like that can result in either life or death. It's that
Mm-hmm.
serious.
Yeah.
If they're
And
just taught rules, then they can't think and they'll just follow the rule and end up in regrets.
no, and I think is also a downfall, a pitfall with regards to parenting today, also in general, because parents in particular approach parenting through, well, this is what I've been taught, and these are the rules, instead of educating a child on priority and teaching a child how to develop a system of reasoning from what is the life's priority.
Mm-hmm.
So you're expecting them now to actually reason like you, where you have established your priority in life, but you've taught them rules, and you expect them to use the rules in particular. And when the dynamics change or the circumstances change, now you have what happens now. What happens then is that you have an expectation that is beyond the capacity that you've trained the child. Because you didn't
Mm-hmm.
train the child to reason by measuring the situation from a priority. You've taught the child to keep rules. Does that make sense? What is the study there?
Yes. I mean, and would you say also, instead of telling the child don't do this, would you say this? Would you say this is why you shouldn't do this?
No, what I'm saying is that the child should be taught the priority in the situation. So, for example, like one of the things in particular that you see, like even if you go into, I'm mentioning this cautiously because I have been exposed to learning, learning and training in the medical capacities,
Mm-hmm.
specifically in the areas of first aid and first responding.
Okay.
And one of the things in particular that you're taught when you're approaching that in particular is that you never follow rules.
Hmm.
What you do when you enter that, when you encounter a medical situation, what you have is a hierarchy of priorities that you have to that you have to go through. So when you approach the person, you're approaching the person, and your priority is to preserve life. That
Okay.
means that the situation has to be assessed according to templates that you are provided with that helps you accomplish the priority of preserving life. Instead, if we teach, if the medical profession in particular approaches this from the perspective of following rules, and they say if you see a bandage, if you see a wound, you should apply a bandage, and that's the rule. Then the man could be gagging, and you see a wound, and you're just looking for bandage because the rule is apply bandage to wound, whilst the man is not breathing. He's struggling to breathe.
Oh wow.
Do you see the dynamics in what I'm showing you there?
Yeah. The priority is the man that cannot breathe.
the priority is to preserve life, which means
Right.
the priority of life
Exactly.
must be identified. In the same way, when we train in children spiritually in identity, we need to identify what is the priority of the identity,
Hmm.
what they hold being held responsible to, things like integrity, things like
Right.
equity. That's the priority, so that they can now assess the situation through the lens of that as a principle, and not keep rules,
Right. Principles.
principles, how you apply that principle.
Okay. Yes.
Does that make sense?
That make a lot of sense.
So it's the same thing, because what you're actually being taught to do then, or when you approach a medical situation as a first aider or as a first responder, what you're taught to do is to reason what is
Reason.
taking from the perspective of the priority. If you're taught rules, then you can see, well, the
Like
for
a
example,
robot, right?
exactly, you're just applying rules, you're just following rules. So it says if the person is burnt, for example, you should apply water to cool the burn.
Hmm.
But that doesn't apply if more than 90% of the person's body is burnt. You apply
Right.
water and you can throw them into hypothermia.
Mm.
See, that right there requires an understanding of priority.
So it's
If
like you have to think, assess what is need to go first.
Exactly. And so when we apply this to parenting, what we want to do is, as parents, is understand what is the priority of life for the child,
Priority of
and
life.
educate the child on priority, so that they can understand how they assess to make accurate decisions and not live by rules of validation.
Right.
Right? And as a parent, you want to also make sure that you are not doing that, because you can
Right.
actually apply rules of validation, and it is actually not bringing life.
Mm.
Right? So all of these things in particular are questions that we can actually have at this convention. For those who want to actually ask questions, come to the convention, ask the question, and both Paul Brown and myself, we make ourselves available to you in this area.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Holy Sister Delia, we'd like to thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you. Thank you.
For those of you who actually would like to join, remember, go to Royal Rulers in Training online services,
Yes.
and register by the event that is actually being posted. We actually have Holy Sister Delia live here today. On the week before the convention, we're going to actually call her back,
Yeah.
where she can give a little more information also on some of the training in the supernatural that she does. Right?
Okay.
We spoke about the convention today. That will be on Wednesday, the 8th in particular.
Of September, right?
Wednesday, the 8th of September, we will have her back to hear about the supernatural training. And on the following week, well, on the Sunday, the 5th, her Sunday convention would have started for parents. And on the following week, which is the 15th and 16th, her convention for spiritual activation starts.
Yes.
All right. So to everyone joining us online, we'd like to thank you for actually tuning in. Vince Allen, blessings and much love, Holy Brother. Rishi Changar, that's actually a really good friend of mine here in Trinidad and Tobago. And everybody else who was here but didn't really comment. Boom. Yeshua. All right. So we will see you, Holy Sister, on the 8th again.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
It's awesome. It was awesome having you here, and we are very, very humbled to actually be even contributing to this convention.
Awesome. I'm honored too.
All right.
All right.
So,
see y'all then.
See you then. Blessings and much love to everyone.
Blessings and love to everybody. God bless y'all.